Yes, how are you doing? This is FK Mwenda, and I am back. There is a story that seems to have slipped your mind, and I see it as my obligation to bring it to your attention. The Kware Mukuru kwa Llings massacre. What really happened? How did that story die just like that? What mind game has the President of the Republic of Kenya played with the people of Kenya to make them forget one of the most greatest atrocities that have ever befallen our country? You know, when last year we were hit with the scandal of the Shakahola massacre, that thing took so much. We talked about it. We spearheaded a conversation that led to bodies being retrieved until today. The exhumations of the bodies that were buried in Shakahola land we have never finished that. Thousands of people died. Now, the other day, it was brought to our attention that 42 women were killed and dumped in Kware, Mukuru kwa Llings dam site. But in a matter of 1 week, we have all forgotten about Kware. We have all forgotten about the families that are looking for their loved ones. We have all forgotten about the death of the people that died there. We have all forgotten about the cover-up story that was purported to have been brought to us by the DCI. And we are talking about President William Ruto appointing cabinet secretaries from the ODM side. How gullible are we as a nation? It is my obligation to keep you informed. It is my obligation to bring to attention to you some of the most crucial details about this story. You know, there is a rumor that the bodies of the young men and the women that their bodies were retrieved from Kware had even the Kenyan flag in their mouth. Some of them had notes from the demonstrations and the protest of June. Now, how comes you tell us that we all bought the story that was brought to us by IG Kanjo and DCI Director Amin Mohammed? How gullible are we when we sit down and take that as a convincing story coming from these men? What every time and every second they have been kidnapping young men and women in the country. Now, truth be told, as we speak right now, as I speak this story, is a story that might bring problems to me. But it's upon time we take our time on what we have and use it as we are supposed to do. Now, tukae chini tuonge. Mukuru kwa Llings is a slum, one of the biggest slums in this country. Na slum ya Mukuru kwa Llings inaendelea kubwa. Na reason mi nabonga kuhusu Mukuru kwa Llings, that is the place where I was born. Are you getting where I'm coming from? Hapo ndipo nilizaliwa mi. So you can't tell me such a story will befall the place that I was born, although my mother returned me to Ushago to grow up in Ushago, and since then I have only passed there visiting. That is the place that I grew up. That is the place nilienda nursery school. So wezi niambia sahi nitakaa nibondeni tulie nikatae kuongea kuhusu Mukuru. Mukuru kwa Llings, over 70 people were killed. Now we were told 42. But what happened? Why did the retrieving of the bodies stop? And why was it that tumekamatamse jana, then the next day the dam site iko on fire? You know, you people should be asking a lot of questions to the government of the Republic of Kenya. But you are so gullible into believing whatever crap and nonsense that is brought to us. Right now, the only conversation that we are having is how did Raila Odinga head up being in government? How did Ali Hassan Joho, a man that hated President William Ruto with his heart and soul, now singing praises about President William Ruto, and he is right now in bed with the government of Kenya Kwanza? Same question. How now we are talking about people like Oparanya, people like Opio Ondai, John Badi, Kalonzo Musyoka. That is the conversation you're having. Instead of revisiting the real stories that should be talked about. What about the families that lost their loved one? Because huwezi niambia umse alishikwa Jumaisi, huwezi tuambia that umse had been living among the community for the longest time possible. Umse hakuwa ipatikana, hakuwa julikana since 2022, and then after the bodies were discovered in 2 days, then the next day mmeshika umse. Now a certain thing ambayo hatuwezi kubaliana nayo. Huwezi tuambia hii miili ilikuwa pale kwa refu all that while, alafu ukuje utuambie yes, hii miili ilikuwa pale kwa refu. Unaget? Tunaweza kubali ilikuwa pale, but how comes wakati hii miili inakuwa retrieved ingine, some of the bodies zile miili zilikuwa zinatolewa pale mpaka zilikuwa na damu. You know, you people, I don't know how you buy certain stories. But my curiosity doesn't allow me to buy bullshit that is sold to me at any price. No, I don't buy that. I always have to indulge my mind into thinking, behold, the picture that is brought to me. Because the picture that was brought to us is a fiasco that was played by the DCI and the acting Inspector General of Police. Now the question is, why did IG Koome just quit the police? A man that had been on the front line defending the police and defending President William Ruto and the government at that. Why did he quit just one day? No, he didn't wait even for a day to finish. Mili ilipatikana saa 7 saa 6 mchana, Koome saa 10 ashapatiana resignation letter. Until now kuna familia bado zinatutumia posters za watoi wao ambao hawajapatikana kutokea June 25th when wali disappear after Occupy Parliament. So mnatuambia we have to buy such crap eti mse mmoja ndiye alikuwa akiuawa watu wote na eti jenda yao wase wote ilikuwa female. No. Let me tell you, our DCI is the third most rated investigative body in Africa. So wakitaka ubaye chochote utabaye. If they want you to believe in anything in the world, our DCI is top 10 in terms of investigation. So you can't tell us when they decide to play with your mind, they won't play with it. Our DCI inaweza kuwa compared even with the CIA ya US, because hawa wase wakona, we have the most professional minds and most intelligent people coming from this nation of ours, and the DCI have recruited, so they help them to plant certain narratives to you. Na hiyo narrative tuliuziwa mpaka saa hii ndio nimeona, why don't I ask you a question? You know, it's my obligation to bring this story to attention so that at least you can again amplify the message. Because I wonder, ya Rabbi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tujalie, maana tunapotea sisi kama nchi, tunapombazwa macho sisi kama nchi. Allah atuangalie, atujalie, maana tunapotea, na tuwe watu wenye akili za kuona mbali na kuona, behold what we are being sold. Because you can't tell that man, you know, he went to court and the lawyer said my client was under duress to confess said killing. That was a game that was played by the DCI to you as Kenyans so that mtatulia, you will cool down. Now tell me, how does one man kill 42 women and go unnoticed in the same area and the bodies are being dumped next to a police station? You know what? I will end it here. But the question is, wewe ulibai hiyo story? Wewe ulidanganyika? Na kama hukudanganyika, why are you quiet? Why are you not tagging the DCI and asking them to continue telling us about the investigation and what is going on in regards to the Mukuru kwa Njenga bodies? Because tumepiga kelele sana. We have been on the street protesting against the government. But we can't be on the street with some of us wakiuawa na tunanyamaza. Those people were wrapped, mili imefungwa. That story still haunts me, day in, day out. How did that happen? How are we quiet? You know what? I shall close the story there. All I heard from you is to make sure that una subscribe na una amplify message. I said it's my obligation to bring the story to your attention because some of you have forgotten where this country is headed. Ni hayo tu kwa sasa. Hii ni Gikuyu FM podcast. Make sure